Hey folks, how's everyone doing out there? My name is Rosendo. I'm from MLH. I just wanted to let y'all know that right now we have a great workshop heading out. We're getting ready to show you. It's called Create Your First Salesforce App in 30 Minutes. We are here with Mohith from Salesforce, so he's going to be bringing you through all of the things that you need to do in order to get done and to participate today. Prior to getting everyone on stream or getting Mohith on stream. How's it going, everybody? Prior to getting Mohith on stream, I just wanted to let y'all know, if you haven't yet, definitely make sure to go and register and check in through the link that I just dropped there for y'all. Head over to organize.mlh.io, find the Create Your First Salesforce App in 30 Minutes link, register, check in, make sure that you get credit for being here, make sure that you are represented as far as getting points for your guild are concerned. Yep. We're just going to wait for some more folks to go ahead and join the stream with us today. Where's everyone joining us from? Yeah, I will share the I will share the link again. Here you go. Boom. All right, we've got some folks from India. We've got some folks from San Antonio, Austin. All right. Awesome. India's in the house. That's great. We've got a global audience today. That's amazing. Looks like there are a ton of people starting to pile in to the stream. Like I said before, make sure you go in. We got Eddie Hub Guild in the house. We've got someone from Ethiopia. That's amazing. All right. Like I said, make sure that you go in and register. I'm just going to go ahead and drop the registration link in the chat once again. We've got Canada in the house. Hey, what's up, Santosh? Ethiopia again. All right. Without further ado, I think everyone's warmed up. I think we've got where everyone's at. I think we're ready to start building a Salesforce app in 30 minutes. All right, y'all. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce y'all to Mohith from Salesforce. How's it going, Mohith?
Hey, everyone. Hey, it's going good. My name is Mohith. I'm a developer advocate here at Salesforce. I welcome you all to this wonderful talk today on creating your Salesforce apps in 30 seconds. Sorry, not 30 seconds. That would be awesome if we could do that in 30 seconds, but 30 minutes. So we will show you how to build your first Salesforce application, how to use our developer tools that we have, and really I'm excited to get started here. All right, so so let's start and keep bringing your questions in. If you have any questions, just use those comment section. Please feel free to comment on anything that you think needs more explanation, etc. And we'll get into everything here. So as I said, my name is Mohith Srivastava. I'm a developer advocate here at Salesforce. That's my Twitter handle at msrivastava13. You can follow me on the Twitter. I usually blog, share all the content related to Salesforce. Okay, with that, let's actually get into the agenda. Now, because this is a Salesforce presentation, I want to make sure you're familiar with our forward-looking statement. With that being done, let's look at some of the prerequisites that we need for this workshop. So what you need is Salesforce CLI. So if you haven't installed Salesforce CLI, just Google for Salesforce CLI. So Sales CLI here is a command line tool, just like any other command line utility. Salesforce has a specific tool called Salesforce CLI, which allows you to interact with Salesforce and build applications. So you definitely need that. So I would suggest that you please go ahead and install it. Just Google for Salesforce CLI. Depending on your operating system, just pick it up and install. If you haven't done it, this is the time while I explain all other tools. The next step is install VS Code. There is some question around what is Salesforce, which language is prerequisite. I'll go through them. But you will need VS Code. VS Code is a popular IDE in the ecosystem today. So make sure to have VS Code. And once you have VS Code, make sure to install a plugin called Salesforce Extension Pack from the VS Code marketplace. Okay, So if I'm on VS Code here, I can see my VS Code. One of the plugins that I have is obviously Salesforce Extension Pack. Just search for Salesforce Extension Pack expanded. Search for expanded one. You should get this one. This one is also okay, but if you can find the expanded one, that also works. So go ahead and say install. I have it already installed. So make sure that you have this. Now, a couple of folks have asked me questions around. Thank you for someone sharing the link for the Salesforce CLI, also sharing for the VS Code. Also, I would want to say that somebody asked me, what is Salesforce, right? Now, this is a really good question. So Salesforce is a CRM, customer relationship management software, and at the same time, it's also a platform as a service, that is PaaS. So a lot of you are familiar with infrastructure as a service, I believe, which is where AWS and Google and Azure, all these comes into picture. Now, those are infrastructure as a service. Now, where the infrastructure is provisioned for you. And what is Salesforce? Salesforce is a platform as a service, which means you can use our platform, which is Salesforce, to build applications, like build web applications, build applications for your mobile, right? So you can build applications. Though Salesforce is a software, but there is this part of Salesforce that's so exciting for developers is platform as a service. So you can build apps on Salesforce, just like Google has Play Store, and Apple has what do you call Apple Store, right? Where you can go and download all these applications. Similarly, we have for Salesforce, we call it as AppExchange, and there what you do is you can install applications, and then basically you can sort of publish your application there, install from there. So if someone is buying Salesforce, they can go to AppExchange and install the applications of their choice to make their work easier, right? So that's Salesforce. It is a platform as a service. Now, what languages do we use on Salesforce platform to build? It's a very interesting question. Actually, we don't. I mean, there are languages, but the power of Salesforce is you can build your application with clicks, and then you can enhance with code. So to write code, you can write front end and back end. Again, you will see for back end we use a language called Apex, which is Apex is a language, is a programming language very similar to Java. You can say that under the hood it is Java, but we have wrapped it up with Apex. So it's an object-oriented language. That is what we use for business process automation here in Salesforce. And for building your front end, we use web component framework. So we have our own web component framework called Lightning Web Component, and we will see. So the best part of Salesforce is with clicks, you can pretty much create your application, data model, business processes. It also gives you UI services on top of it. And then you can enhance that application with the code. That means if you need more business logic, you can write using Apex. And if you need to write your own components, and you want to enhance the experience that comes out of box, then you use web components. Now, very important thing, apart from all of these, is to make sure that you install, or sorry, you sign up for a free Salesforce Developer Edition org. Now, I say free because it's really free. So let me show you how do you do that. So basically, you search for developer org sign up Salesforce. Just search for that. And once you do that, just go onto this lovely web form and just fill your name, your email, your company name, your role, country, and your zip code, and just provide a username, and you'll get a brand new Salesforce org for free. You can keep this forever. Just don't use it for commercial purposes, but you can use it for learning. Okay. And also, I would like to point out one more thing. That is, if you're trying to learn Salesforce, just go for this website, trailhead.salesforce.com. So once you have like a developer org signed up, you can go to trailhead.salesforce.com, log in with your credential. And the best part is you click on this learn, where you can get different trails learn different things. There are some sample projects also that you can build. Like these are like, let's say you want to learn admin skills, you want to sort of build better user interface. So you can pretty much learn everything for free here. This is a free site. It's designed to keep your learning. Can we follow along if you already have a Trailhead profile? Yes, definitely you can follow along. You can use your Trailhead org, the developer org that comes with the Trailhead as well for this workshop. Yes, definitely. So there's a lot going on here, and there are a lot of Salesforce products. You can learn about them as well, and also you can choose your role. Like for example, if you are focusing on developer, you just click on developer and go on building. Also, we have provided some more resources for you to learn here, so you can pretty much learn anything easily on your phone. There's also a Trailhead app that you can download and learn. If you're on a desktop, feel free to use trailhead.salesforce.com. And the fun part about this Salesforce, this Trailhead site is, what you will do is you will basically complete them and you get points and you get badges. So we have gamified to make your life simpler. Okay, enough said. We will get back to what we want to build today. So what to fill in the company? Well, if you do not have any company at this point, just fill something out. You can say personal, or you can put your name as well. That works. It's just a field. Okay, so let's get started now with building. So today what we will be building, we'll be building an application. So somebody is asking which extension we have to install for VS Code. Let me show you. So search for Salesforce Extension Pack. You will search for something called as Salesforce Extension Pack, and that's where just go ahead and install it. Okay. So now let's get back to what we want to build today, because I want to build something and show you guys like how you can build applications on Salesforce. Okay. So today we're going to build a sample application, which will be a very simple application, which is going to track our visits to local park. Okay. It's a very simple application that we will be building. And the overall aim of this is to just show you the power of Salesforce, and also I want to show you the right way to build Salesforce application. And we'll build data model for that using clicks. That's the power of Salesforce. As I said, you can build your application with clicks. And then finally, if we get time, we'll try to build one Lightning component so that you get an idea of how to kind of design and build something like a Lightning component, like for the front end. So let's get started without further ado. Okay. So I'm all excited to go through this. Okay. So now that you have installed these, application, right? The Salesforce Extension Pack, right? The first thing we do for creating or scaffolding a Salesforce project is you say Command Shift P. That's where we bring your Visual Studio Code command palette and type SFDX. Okay. So once you do SFDX is Salesforce Developer Experience. It's just a short form for that. And then you say create a project. Okay. So you create a project. And what it will do is it will pop up a small model. There you go. So now you have to pick a template. Just pick a standard template. And let's name the project as, visit tracker. You can give any name to the project, but let's say I want to say visit tracker. And you want to indicate where in your local file system you want to store. All right. So I want to say I want to store it on the desktop today. Create. So what should be the username of the developer account? Feel free to give any username. Ideally, it could be your email ID. But as long as it is like, your name at something, that does work. Okay. So now once you have this connected, right? Once you have this project, you will see that it automatically creates some things for you. Like it creates a Force app folder. That's where your application is going to sit. And then somebody was asking which languages do we use, right? So we use Apex and front end like HTML and JavaScript. But we also, for our tooling, we use Node.js. So if you're familiar with Node.js, we use that. Now, folks are asking, can you repeat the step? Definitely. It's pretty much simple. All you do is Command Shift P, go for this SFDX create project, click on that. Once you click on that, type in the project name, select the standard template, and it will authorize you. Okay. Yeah, so which language do you use? We use Apex, but for tooling purposes, we use Node, that is Node.js. Okay, so we already have Node.js script that automatically comes with this project scaffold, right? Which automatically comes with the project scaffold. So let's actually get here and say npm install, so that we install all the Node modules that are required for this project. Let's install. So what for Windows? Well, the Windows also the same thing. Instead of like Command Shift, instead of what do you call Command Shift P, it will be Control Shift P. If you are used to Windows. Okay, so this should ideally have worked, but we'll continue. Command. Let's open the terminal. So Visual Studio Code comes with a terminal, right? So make sure that the terminal is on, and we should be fine with npm install. If it doesn't work, then that's fine as well. Don't need to worry. I'm gonna try once more to npm install. Okay, no worries. All right, so don't need to worry about it. Okay, so once you have all of these, right? Let's do this. So our first task today is going to be authenticating to Salesforce, and then building something like a data model in Salesforce, and then retrieve to our local project. Okay. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that we connect to our Salesforce environment. Like you see here, it says no default org set, right? We need to make sure that we set a default org, right? So for that, we do Command Shift P. Just do a Command Shift P and do SFDX, and then say authorize. Click on this Authorize the Dev Hub, and it will open up a browser window where you will input the username and the password that you would have set for your developer org. Remember, I said you have to go and sign up for a developer org. So there you will enter, and it will give you the username and password. And then once it gives you the username and password, you basically enter them, and then you just log in. So once you log in, it will ask you to authorize. So which means my command line tool that I have is asking us to authorize the Salesforce. You just allow it. Now, once you do that, it will log you into the Salesforce application, and that's where we'll build our new application. Now here, right, it says authorize successful. Now, once it is authorized, right, once it is kind of authorized, it is authorized to a dev hub now. Okay. Now we need to create a scratch org. Now, what is a scratch org? Think of a scratch org as a environment or a branch which is temporary, so that you do all your developer work. Okay. Dev hub is like, think of developer hub as a hub from where you can spin multiple number of branches or multiple number of scratch orgs. Okay. All right. So let me scroll to see what to write to authorize. Well, you don't have to do anything to authorize. All that you need to do is Command Shift P and then say SFDX and say authorize a dev hub. Click on that, and that will take you to the browser. Just enter your username and password for your developer edition org, and that will authorize it. Okay. So once you do that, you should do this. So Command Shift P again, and Control Shift P for Window users, and then SFDX, and then all you need to do is say create a default scratch org. You see here, create a default scratch org. So what this does is it will create an org so that you can do the development there. So let's create a scratch org here. Select the definition file. It will ask you for an org alias, which you can say dev org. This org alias is nothing but, you can think of it as a name for your for your connection to the scratch org. It could be anything. So that you don't have to. And then you can say how many days you want the scratch org to exist. I typically say 7 days, but it depends on your development time, right? You can even say 30 days. So the org exists for 30 days. Okay. So now what's happening here? One sec. So authorize. Let's see what's happening. The requested resource doesn't successfully authorized. So what is it saying? Let's do it once more. Okay. Command Shift P, SFDX, authorize. Okay, create a default scratch org name. Let's call it as visit tracker. Let me give it a different name this time. Let's say I want it for 7 days. So something is going wrong here. The requested resource does not exist. Okay, let me do. So what happens is sometimes it executes these commands and we can try and execute this command manually sometimes. I don't know what's going on here, but let's try doing this. Okay, so the requested resource does not exist. API version configuration. Okay, so let's see. So what happens is you have this configuration file. Now, if there is something that is wrong in this configuration file, sometimes that issue happens. And also, I think the dev hub that I have might not be correct. So let me actually make sure that that is set correctly. So the force config get, that's where I can see what's my default dev hub. Okay, SFDX. So SFDX commands that I'm typing here, right? So if you have the CLI installed, you can see SFDX version. That's the CLI, right? It will tell you what version your CLI is on. And then what you can do is you can also say SFDX and say help to see all the commands. It's just a CLI, just like any other thing. And somebody is like, hope I'm not late. Definitely not late to this. We are just getting started with how to build a Salesforce application. And we are going through some issues here. Maybe that's because my org is not enabled for some feature. Anyways, we'll sort it out. So now what you have here, right, is all these things, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back and check, okay, how do I authorize the so you can do a help on everything, like for example, help on auth commands, right? So you can do a help like this, right? As you can see, I have a help here and tells me how to log in, right? So I can keep doing a help on this. Like for example, I can say SFTX auth and web and do a help on this. There you go. So it says auth web login, right? Let's go through that. So SFDX auth web login, and let's do a help on that. So this is how you learn about the different commands, like what it does. Because you are very new to it, you might not be that familiar with it. So basically, this is how you learn. So let's do this now. I want to log into a different environment, right? So I'm gonna say SFDX login. Let's do this. SFDX auth web login. And then I'm gonna set my alias to say devorg is my alias, and then I want to make sure I'm logging into the dev hub, right? So there's a flag there to make sure it sets that as the dev hub. Let's log in. So now it will take me to a login screen again. This time I'm going to use a different org because I think my org has some issues. Is anybody else facing the same issue? So somebody is like, what do we have to do after typing SGDX? It's actually SFDX, not SGDX. Okay. So let's do. So let me actually pull up an org pull up a different org basically that give me a sec. Let me find out an org which has everything enabled. Feel free to ask your questions, so if there are any issues with it, we'll try to build it up. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, let's try with this. Let's try doing this. So I have a different org now this time. Anybody having issues still here? Things seem to have progressed faster than I was able to keep. Okay, so we'll repeat once more just for folks who are very new to this. Okay, so so here's the thing, right? Make sure, first of all, make sure that you have all the tools installed. So what are the tools? SFDX version, right? So which this command should be working and it will tell you the latest version, right? So if this is not working, that means you have not installed the Salesforce CLI. Now, if you're a Windows, it actually does take a lot of time to install these Salesforce CLI tool. Okay, so don't worry about it. Just keep, just keep watching this, and you can also watch the recordings, I believe. And this is all documented in the Trailhead, so don't worry about it. So Windows actually takes time to install the version. Next thing, make sure you have a Visual Studio Code IDE, okay? And then make sure that you have this extension with you, which is the Salesforce extension, okay? So go ahead and search for Salesforce extension pack here and make sure that you install. It's not giving me install option because I've already installed. So once you have all those things, 3 things done, then the next step for you is Command Shift P. And I'm assuming at this point you also have the developer org sign up. Now, if you have not signed up for the developer org, just again Google for developer org sign up. Okay, just search for developer org sign up and sign up for developer edition org here. Okay, so once you do that, you come back here and say Command Shift P or Control Shift P on Windows and search for SFDX, and you should see something called as create a project. So you click on that, you select the standard template, provide the name for your project, and say, okay, where do you want to store the project? It will automatically scaffold you a project directory, okay, just like this. Now the next step is to authorize the Dev Hub, which is your, you want to say this command line that is sitting on my machine can access Salesforce. So that's authorization. So what you do for that is Command Shift P or Control Shift P on your Windows and search for SFDX authorize a Dev Hub. So you click on that, and that will take you to Salesforce website where you put the username and password, which you have got after signing up in the previous step. So once you have all of these, right? Control plus Shift plus P for Windows, Command plus Shift plus P for Mac or Linux. Okay. Um, and then what you do here is you authorize, and now we go ahead and create a Scratch org. So Developer Hub is like a hub org from where we can spin multiple branches. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and create a Scratch org. So I'm going to say Command Shift P again. Command Shift P. If you're working on Visual Studio Code, always remember Command Shift P. Authorize the Dev Hub failed to run for someone, right? That okay, so that could be, and we'll sort that issue actually. So that could be because the Dev Hub is not enabled in the org. I'll show you. So if I have the access to the previous org, so this is my previous org, right? So I know why the thing got failed, because I missed one step. I'll tell you. So go ahead and find something called as Dev Hub here. Okay, just search Dev Hub, click on that, and then enable Dev Hub. Click on this enable Dev Hub. Okay, click on that enable Dev Hub, and also click on yeah, that's the only thing you need. So make sure to enable that. So once you do that, the Dev Hub sign up will not fail. Okay, so make sure to do this. Even in this org that I'm logged in, I have the Dev Hub enabled. So I go here and search for Dev Hub enabled. Otherwise, you'll get that error that I just got. So I go here and look for Dev Hub, Dev space Hub. Okay, so Dev space Hub, and make sure that this Dev Hub is enabled. Now, once you do that, go ahead and authorize it. Somebody is having an issue saying it's showing cannot ADD path failed in the Windows while installing Salesforce CLI. Well, we'll have to look at that actually, like why your Salesforce CLI installation got failed, or how we will have to look at it. Okay, so you have my Twitter handle. Just feel free to use that Twitter handle. Let me actually give to my Twitter handle to everyone who is new to this, right? My Twitter handle here is mshivasu13. So just note down. You can reach out to me there, and we'll sort out if there are more issues. But yeah, so okay, so we are building a simple application. So now you have like sort of enable the Dev Hub, right? So if you enable the Dev Hub, go ahead and reauthorize it, and you should see that the authorization successful. Okay, so now that I have the authorization successful, the next step is to create a scratch arc. So how do I do that? Command Shift P or Control Shift P for Windows, SFDX, and select Create a Default Scratch Arc. Click on that, select that. Let's call it as Visit Tracker as my name for 7 days. This time it will not fail. It will run and create a default scratch arc from where I'm going to do my development. I have auto set the environment path for CLI. So let's take a look at some question, because this is going to take a minute to create the scratch arc. It's spinning up an environment for you to do the development. There you go. So we have the scratch arc created. So once you have the scratch arc, this thing that you should see this thing. And once you click on that, it will open up the org where we are going to do the development. We can pretty much close all other orgs and only focus on the developer org where we are going to do the this is called scratch arc, and this is where we'll do the development now. Okay, so anybody else made through this, like they are able to create a scratch arc? I'm just curious to see if there are anybody who is managed to get through this. Yes, there you go. We have someone. Someone is no. Don't worry about it. Just keep following it, and we will fix it. There you go. After creating it, where do I find it online? Yes, that's a very good question. So after the creation, you see this thing that I showed you here, open arc. Click on that. That will take you to the arc. Like when I click on this, it will take me to that arc where we have the arc for the development. Okay, great. Yep, thank you. Okay, awesome. All right, so now that we have the org with us, we are ready to good to develop. Now, any application you build, it will require some data model, right? Everybody with me? It requires some data model. So how do we build the data model, right? In Salesforce, it is pretty easy. Click and point, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create an object called visits, okay? So let's create, so you see all these objects come standard out of the box. Now to create our own custom application, we can use any of these. Most of them are tied to a business functionality in Salesforce, but let's say I want to create one for my own need, I can do. So let me create a custom object called, parks. Okay. Let me create so creation of custom object is pretty simple. As you can see, it's all, click and point. So let me create an object called park, and you provide the description, etc., and you say save. It's saving. So creation of the custom object, pretty simple. All that you need to do is here at the top, just go to the setup. That takes you to an admin mode. And in this setup, quick find for object, or you can even click this object manager tab and then click on this create custom object. That will create the custom object for you. So we created a custom object called park. Let's add some fields to that custom object. So park name is one of the fields that got automatically. Let me add another field where, it will be a text field, let's say. So there are different types of fields that you can add, like auto number, lookup, master detail. I'll talk about all those things, but these are like data types for your field. Okay. So yeah, so somebody's like popcorn, yes. So now here we go here and select text, right? Next. And then we say, okay, for park, let's add an address field there. Let's add 100 character address field. Okay. So next. So what is this? So Salesforce out of the box has security model. Okay. So, your users are grouped into what we call it as profiles. So these are the names of the standard profiles that comes with it. You can also create your own custom profile, but don't worry about it if you're not understanding too much about this at this point, because you can always learn more about profiles, users, layouts, etc. on the Trailhead. Don't get overwhelmed at this point. So I just created a couple of objects, right? So, one object with a name and the address field. So let's see how this works. So if I go to an app launcher and click view all and search for park. Oh, We have only created object, it seems. Okay, so an application has tabs, so we'll need to go create tabs also. So go back to that setup, search for tabs, click on tabs. So somebody is saying Salesforce CLI is not installed, but it did installed. It might be because you might have missed the path. So that could be the issue. So let's go here, search for park, tab style. You can add some tab styles as you wish. Which one should we pick? Let's not waste time in picking one. I'm just gonna pick something like this. Next, and then we say, just select the defaults, save. There we go. It's saving the tab. So now the tabs are saved here. As you can see, the tab is there. Now let's go ahead and create an app for our old project, right? So let's create an app, our app. So as you can see, it's all click and point. That's the best part. You can click and point to create an application. So visit park or visits tracker, that's the name of our application. Developer name. Next, you can even provide logos, etc. Standard navigations, all clicks and points. Next, here, right, just search for parks. Parks, that's the new object that we added. And let's give access to our profile. We are system administrators, so we have profiles by which we can arrange our users. As I said, save and finish. So now if I actually click on the app launcher and say view all and click on visit tracker, this is our application. Out of box, we have an application which basically has this one object called parks that we just created. And now I can add a new park. It creates a form for us, right? So for example, my park name could be, let's call it as, what's our favorite park? Let me see parks nearby my place. There are a lot of parks near my place. So one of them is Heritage Park. Let's call it as Heritage Park. Heritage Park. And the address for this will be Chattanooga, GM. Okay. So this address field could have been better, but just for the demonstration. So I've added one park now. I can see that park, right? I can even customize this to say, customize this view to say parks. I can customize this view to say add more fields in them. Like for example, I need the name of the park. I also need the address. Also need who created it. Okay, save. So there you go. So you see how powerful Salesforce was. It is able to give us the object, right? That I'm able to create via the clicks and points, right? And then I can add my attributes here. So I've almost created my data model just by clicks here. So now let's say I want to add some visits to it. So let me create an object and link the object. So I'll go back to the object manager and let's create one more object this time. So let me create an object called visits. Visits is the one that we will track. Every time I visit to a park, I want to track the visit. So I'm going to say visits will be the plural. And this time I'm going to select this, that it automatically creates the tab. So it's, see this checkbox, which means it automatically creates the tab. I'm going to save. Yeah, so now in the tab style, I'm going to say just select something and say next, save. There you go. There you go. So now we have visits, right? Now we want to link the visit and the park object. So what we will do is we'll say new, and then we will create a lookup or a master detail. So lookup or a master detail is like, let's say you want an object, right? Which is kind of a main object, and then you have all the child objects concerning that, right? So let's actually do that. So let's go to lookup relationship and then look up that object that we had, like the visits with the park object. Okay, let's select the park object. That's where we are trying to link to. Just gonna select the defaults, just select the defaults and keep clicking next. You don't have to worry about each of these options, but I'll show you, or maybe the Trailhead can, if you get time, just look at the Trailhead to understand more. But here's the thing. So now what happens is if I go to my app, right, I create an app called Visit Tracker. Okay, Visits Tracker. So this app has two objects now, park and the visit. Now the thing about this is for this park, if I have to take the visits, I'm gonna say this, right? So visit name. Now here, like most of the times we don't want the name, right? It could be a number as well. So let's actually change that back to number. So we can do that actually in the object manager. We'll auto number it. So we'll go back to the visits, click on that, and then we go back to fields and relation. So let's change this text field from text to auto number. Yeah, there you go. We will have the the recordings. So don't worry if you're not able to follow, or you're not able to follow along as I speak, because you'll always have you'll always have recordings with you. Okay, so we'll start with 000. Let's save. There you go. Okay, so now for this heritage park, let's say I do a visit. I want to track that, right? So let's see. So for this heritage park, let's say I want to create a new visit. There we go. This is my first visit. So look what happens. It automatically assigns the 00 number, right? So this is my park and these are the visits that I'm doing. Let me create one more. I can create one more, right? It would have been nice if I added one more field which tracks the date and time. I can quickly do that by going to the visit object, just say new, and then we'll select date and time, and we'll say visit date and time. So la visited date time. You can say visited. Okay, visited time. We go next, next, and then we save. So now I'll go back to the heritage and say, okay, first visit, maybe I did yesterday. So let's actually edit this and say, okay, I visited it probably yesterday. And let's say I did it at 6 o'clock, save it. And then come back to parts and maybe fix the second data as well. So this is just a simple demonstration of how to create the data model in Salesforce. So as you can see, it's all click and point to begin with. We can enhance with the code, and I'll show you how. So now we have the visits, right? We have the parks, we have a park object, and we have these two visits. We can certainly make this better, right? I want the date and time to also be shown. So in Salesforce, again, what you can do is you can pretty much configure this interface by click and point. Let's actually do that. So we can do that by what we call it as page layout. So you basically have to go here and say edit the page. So here, what we will do is we can add the components. As you can see, there are some components, we can add them. Now what I want to do is change these two. Like I want the details to come first. So drag and drop, details will come first, the related will come next. And then what I want to do is change the column of these, right? So I can click on this middle section and kind of go to the page layout. So this is the editor where I can change the form. I can change like the fields that are displayed, the order of them. I can even configure which fields I want. Like for example, here I want to say visited time also to be included, and say okay, and then save. Right. So now if I actually go back to our application, which is this guy probably. I'm running out of the power, so give me 1 sec. So Rosando, how about we hold it for a couple of seconds? I just want to make sure I plug the power. There you go.
Yeah, sorry about that. Usually when I'm backstage, I try to keep my my mic on mute. Now I'm not on mute. I am here and I'm talking. I just went ahead and added the organize.mlh.io registration page back into the chat. If you haven't registered yet, make sure that you jump on and register, check in, make sure that you get credit for being here today. Yep, I am back. Hopefully I'm audible now. Looks like I'm talking. Can y'all hear me? Just give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me. Yeah, I remember you, Pradoom. Awesome. Great. So yeah, well, great. Finally. Amazing. Love it. So once again, if you are following along at home, you will remember me from earlier. Once again, go in there and register. And it looks like Mohith is back with us. Let's add him back to the stream. Looks like he's all powered up and ready to go.
Yes, we have the power running up. So, all right. So let's actually take a look at how to now extract the metadata. Okay. So what we have done so far, we built the data model, right? So you saw how we built our data model. So the next step is how to extract that metadata. So to extract, click on the terminal and then go and type this command, sfdx force source pull. So whatever we have created is a metadata, okay? So when you do the pull, it will pull all the metadata that we just created in the org, including object, including the tabs, including the apps we have. So let's pull it on. So as you can see, it is running that pull operation. Any questions so far? So what it is doing is it's pulling up all the metadata, right? So we created some fields, we created some objects, and what this is going to do is it's going to pull. So as you can see, it pulled all the fields. So if you look at the folder now, the folder has all the fields and the objects. So for example, application, you see the visit tracker application, everything that we did through the clicks is now, in your local machine. Now, why do we need to do that? Because next time when we want to move this application to, let's say, a production environment or any other environment, we don't want to do the same clicks we just did, right? So that's why we pull everything, like all the clicks that we did. It comes as a code, and then what we can do is we can simply deploy this to whatever org that we want. Okay. So as you can see, it has application. It has the objects. You see the objects that we created, the fields we created. You see the visit was the another object that we created. We created this park field on the visit to link between the park and the visits, and then the visited time, right? So we have all the metadata that we created, and we created a couple of tabs as well. You can see them. And then what did we do? We also created a layout, right? So this is the layout that automatically gets generated. This is the view that you see on the screen. So pretty much we created the object, we created the fields, we created all of these data, right? So this is a simple example of how to sort of build application in Salesforce through clicks. And also we can enhance. So let's actually come back to the coding part, right? So this was clicks part and how you extract the metadata, right? You can even change the things here and directly push it. We have SFDX for source push. So for example, if you actually go here and say SFDX force source push, so this pushes all the metadata that's there in my local machine. So currently there is nothing, right? Because your local and your org is completely in sync, so we don't have to worry about it. But let's say you added something locally and you want to push it to the org, you can. Let me give you an example of that, right? So let's say, so here in this page, right, you saw there was this detail page, detail view, kind of detail view that you saw. Everything was out of box. Now let's say I want to build my own component and I want to add it here, right? I want to quickly add a component and add it here. Now you can build your own components. These are all out of box components. Now I can build my own custom component. So let me do that. Let me actually build a custom component. So I'm gonna create, so here, you see this option, create lighting web component. We come here and we say visit tracker, or let's say visit map, right? I'm gonna just add this here. There you go. So now I added a lightning, what we call this as a lightning web component. Okay. So again, the syntax is you'll have, it's pretty much very similar to writing HTML. So you'll have a .html file, you'll have a JS file, then you have a configuration file. Here we want to expose this to a builder. So we'll have to say to, and then there is something called as target configs. Okay. So target configs and then target. So what this does is basically targets, it should say. We can look at the documentation. So Salesforce has extensive documentation. You can actually go to developer Salesforce documentation. So where you can find documentation for everything. Right? So it's a vast system, and we have extensive documentation for every little thing. Lightning Components has its own documentation. So what we are building is a simple map component. So we can actually copy paste a bit of code if you want to. Yeah, we'll copy paste some code just to show you an example. But before that, right, this has to be exposed. So let's search for, let's look at our developer guide and search for target config. So here, right, preview our components. Target config. Let's select target config. Interfaces. So here we have the target configuration, right? Now let's see. Sometimes you just Google, target configs, LWC, or record page. So target config. It brings me to the same page, which is not so helpful docs. Okay, no worries. Let's look at the second search result. So these targets, let's add our record page target. It was targets. Okay, let's fix that. This is called targets. Targets. I can get rid of config here. Targets. Target must have a child element, which is this one. There we go. Okay, now once you do that, right, now I should be able to push this. So to push that, what we do is we do SFDX force source push. Right. So what this will do is it will deploy the component from my local machine to my org. Okay. So now if I actually reload it, let's reload. Stack Overflow for the rescue. There you go. Yes, yes. Stack Exchange. That's where you can go for Salesforce related queries as well. So we go here, visit map. This is the component. Now you see this component that we just built appears here. Now I can drag and drop here. Currently it is empty because our HTML is empty. Let me activate it, and let's assign this as our default for our experience here. So now what happens is if I actually look at this, It is there here, but we don't see because there is nothing. Let's just quickly add a simple file, right? So here, from here, we can go back to that map component, right? So we have bunch of components here, right? We provide you ability to build anything that you like for example, from basic badge to avatars to accordions, anything you can build, and we have already built a lot of templates for you to actually build and understand. So one of the things that I want to mention is a map component. That's why we were working on, right? Let's actually go to the map component and see how it works. Let's go back to that map component, and we can simply copy paste this for time being. But it's basically a simple markup, and then it has this attributes, and you indicate these attributes. These attributes come from that controller, and that controller is this JavaScript, right? So in this JavaScript also we can copy, like for example, this one. It could be a simple thing like this. Copy this, right? So this is the map markers, and this is what is there here, right? So this is what we provide. Okay, let's push this again and see how it works, how it looks. We're pushing it again. So as you can see, we deployed these two, right? So now let's actually look at the, where was it? We added our component here, right? Where was it that we added? Maybe the detail. Did we add on the visits or did we add it on the park? There you go. There we go. This is the location, right? Well, this could be anything basically. So, so this is how you create a simple component. You can create table, etc. There's a lot of different component that are there here on this page, and you can use these components and compose your UI. So you see how easy it is, right? Salesforce gives you out of box capabilities, but then what we did is we combined both the out of box and this is our own component. So in this layout, you can pretty much control like which standard layout, standard components you want, which custom components you want. Now you can learn all of these, and learn more about Salesforce and building Salesforce from these two links. One is again this specific link. It's on the Trailhead, and you can note down this, and somebody can share it on the chat. It's trailhead.salesforce.com/sample gallery. So we have a lot of applications for you to actually learn and understand. And all of these applications are free, and it's available on a GitHub. So if you type, there will be a GitHub, and we'll show you step by step how to set these applications and play with it. And the code for this application is open source and freely available. So for example, you can go here, look at different Lightning Web components that are required to compose this application, go behind and look at the code, etc. So what I showed you was just the glimpse of it, right? It's just the basic and the fundamentals of it. But you can actually click on this one and go to this website today, click on learn, and then go to modules and search for anything that you want to learn. Now, building a Salesforce application involves a lot of different components. It involves a lot of clicks. You have to go and click each of the stuff. So we give you a lot of things out of the box. But then you can customize with the code. That is where you bring Apex and Lightning Web components into action. Okay. So these two are the things. And also we have our own Twitter handle, like the Salesforce has its own Twitter handle, which is @SalesforceDev. So make sure to follow that. We have a YouTube channel as well, where we teach you how to build Salesforce application and how to get started building Salesforce application. And our, from an industry perspective, we are, one of the, I would say, fastest growing developer ecosystem. There's demand for Salesforce developers. So if you're planning a career in Salesforce, do check out our YouTube channel and the Trailhead, and everything for learning is free, and there's a lot of demand for our developers in the ecosystem. So I hope you kind of enjoyed this. A small one. A lot of you, don't worry if you're not able to get hands-on and learn it, because this duration was pretty small. But note that you can always watch these recordings and also follow along through the recordings, or look at trailhead.com and learn more there by doing more hands-on work. Here we go.
All right. Thanks so much, Mohith. Hopefully everyone can hear me now that I've jumped back onto the stream. Been a pleasure having you. Thanks so much for showing us what you know about Salesforce and telling us all about Salesforce developers. It's super interesting. And just to give y'all a heads up, we do have another Salesforce developer coming on board tomorrow, same time. Check out that workshop with Julian, and it's going to be great. It's going to cover also building out applications as well. So once again, thank you so much, Mohith. Have a good day.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, folks. So thanks so much for joining us for the stream. I did want to let y'all know that Nathan from MLH is going to be coming up next, and he's going to be doing a workshop about sentiment analysis. So more on that later. Thanks again for joining us today, and I'll see y'all again soon. Bye.